I stepped out onto my porch, coffee in hand, ready to soak in the sight of my freshly detailed Lamborghini Huracan. The morning sun hit the metallic blue paint just right, making it shimmer like a sapphire parked in my driveway. I dropped it off at the best detailer in town the night before, and man, it was worth every penny. Sleek, flawless, a dream I'd worked years to make real. That moment of pride lasted about 3 seconds. My heart sank as I spotted them. Long, VY size scratches carved into both doors, deep enough to expose the metal underneath. Someone hadn't just keyed my car, they'd attacked it with purpose. And then I saw the windshield, smeared with bright red lipstick that spelled out, "Greed is a sin." I was still processing the damage when a voice cut through the morning quiet. "You're parading your wealth in front of honest, hard-working people." There, by my mailbox, stood Susan Hargrove, the HOA president of Willow Creek Estates. Arms crossed, face flushed with righteous fury. Her blonde pixie cut framed a scowl that could curdle milk. She nodded at my ruined car. "Maybe now you'll think about the message you're sending to families here who scrape by." I'd only been in Willow Creek for 3 months, MOVYing in after my tech startup went public. Years of 80-hour weeks, crashing on office couches, and pouring every dime into my company had finally paid off. The IPO was a game changer, and this gated community promised peace, a place to breathe. I wasn't here to flaunt anything. I waved at neighbors, helped with the community garden, kept my house one of the smaller ones in the neighborhood simple. But Susan? From day one, she marked me as an outsider, a threat to her pristine suburban empire. It started at my first HOA meeting. "That car is an eyesore," she declared, pointing at me while pretending to address the room. "Some of us value modesty and community standards." The other board members squirmed but stayed silent, letting her run the show. That was the spark of Susan's crusade against what she called my vulgar displays of wealth. Besides my car, I lived low-key, but facts didn't matter to her. I was the VY lane in her middle-class fairy tale. Her attacks came fast. First, a noise violation for starting my car at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday seriously. Then a complaint that my car's color violated some non-existent aesthetic guideline. She even tried to push a new rule banning exotic displays of wealth that Saudi VY Shaun. The treasurer, bless him, quietly pointed out it was legally nonsense, but that only made Susan double down. Pamphlets about responsible wealth started appearing in my mailbox. When I added a small fountain to my backyard fully HOA compliance called an emergency meeting about water conservation. Every time I passed her on the street, she'd mutter loudly about new money and no community values. I'd smile, stay polite, but she never softened. Things got worse when I hosted a small dinner for work friends. The music was low, and we wrapped up by 10 p.m., but Susan called the cops anyway. When they found nothing to ticket, she stood in her driveway, glaring at my house until my last guest left. The next morning, a typed note appeared under my wiper, accusing me of fostering elitism with my business cronies. I started to realize this wasn't just HOA drama. Susan's fixation was personal, obsessive, and creeping toward unhinged. The breaking point came on a Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. My phone buzzed with a security alert motion near my car. I'd installed cameras after finding my tires deflated the week before, a mystery that now felt less random. Half asleep, I checked the feed and froze. There was Susan hunched over my car, dragging a key along the driver's side with slow, deliberate strokes. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and bolted outside, the cold air hitting me like a slap. I caught her mid-scratch, the screech of metal on paint making my skin crawl. "What the hell are you doing to my car?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the rage boiling inside. Susan spun around, key in hand, not a flicker of shame on her face. Instead, she unleashed a tirade that sounded rehearsed, like she'd been itching for this fight. "No one needs this kind of money," she screamed while VYing in my car. "Families here are drowning in medical bills, tuition, and you prance around in this disgusting symbol of PRIVY leg. Someone had to stand up to your excess." I kept recording as I circled the car, capturing every gash, the lipstick scrawl, while she ranted about wealth inequality and community values. When she finally paused, I said, "You need to leave my property. The police are coming." I hadn't called yet, but I would. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with defiance. "Call them," she sneered. "I'll tell them I took a moral stand. Sometimes you break rules to fix a broken society." With that, she marched back to her house, head high, like she'd just led a revolution instead of committing a crime. I dialed 911, my hands shaking. Before the cops arrived, my neighbor Tom crossed the street, phone in hand. "My doorbell Kim caught everything," he said, disgust in his voice. "She's been stalking your car for weeks. Got her letting air out of your tires last Thursday, too." Then Lisa, from next door, chimed in. "She was out here at 2 a.m. Monday, measuring your car with a tape, writing in a notebook." I was floored not just by Susan's insanity, but by my neighbors stepping up. 3 more brought their own footage, painting a picture of Susan's nocturnal obsession with my property. The police arrived, REVYEU the EVY Denke, and shook their heads. "This is felony vandalism," one officer said. "Damage like this, probably overdue law 20,000, is serious." That evening, the HOA called an emergency meeting. Susan strutted in, confident she'd spin this as noble active VY small. She was wrong. The board president, a quiet retired teacher, laid into her. "Your actions aren't about a car. They're criminal, and they jeopardize this entire community." Susan tried her protecting the working class speech, but the room wasn't buying it. The EVY Denke VY Deo's statements was undeniable. The board voted unanimously to boot her as president, effective immediately, and pledged full cooperation with the police. 2 days later, as I dealt with insurance and repair shops, I heard sirens. Outside, officers were cuffing Susan and guiding her to a patrol car. Neighbors gathered, watching in stunned silence as she shouted, "I was defending decency. No one needs a car that expensive." The irony of her preaching morality while being arrested was lost on her. The DA charged her with felony vandalism, trespassing, and property destruction. With overwhelming EVY Denke, her lawyer pushed a plea deal. At the hearing, the judge didn't hold back, calling her VY Gilandi destruction unacceptable. Susan was ordered to pay due law $22,600 in restitution, plus legal fees, got 2 years of probation, and 100 hours of community service. The shock on her face said it all. She never thought she'd face real consequences. Standing in my driveway, watching the repair crew start on my car, I felt a mix of relief and disbelief. Susan's vendetta had unraveled her life, but it also showed me the neighbors who had my back. Willow Creek wasn't perfect, but maybe it was home after all. So what do you think? Was Susan a misguided crusader, or just a jealous bully hiding behind morals? Should I have confronted her sooner, maybe avoided this mess? And what about the neighbors' heroes for stepping up? Or should they have spoken out before it got this far? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this story got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more wild tales like this one.